Good good morning, good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday. The uh, the rat race people like their Fridays, right? And I mean, it depends who you are, right? Like, um, I've been in environments where it's not about the rat race, and ironically, after I read those books, I worked with some people who had also read those books, and it was a very interesting dynamic. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from not having all the traditional jobs. So I need a little bit more setup time because today is going to be a chart intensive stream. So I need another second because I don't remember how I did it. I was practicing before. And I don't remember how I did it. So last night, if you guys didn't watch okay, so it's Ethan Retort, the Ethan Retort, and he owns and manages Killstream, and that is the site that hosted, I guess he hosts debates on an almost nightly basis, and he had Scott Greer and Paul Rams. Sorry, I'm gonna go up by the Twitter name, Ramsey Paul, and they had a really great discussion last night. There we go. They had a really great discussion last night over. So when I did see the Sarah Silverman video that was going around this week, and I honestly didn't reply to it, didn't like it, didn't tweet about it, because it felt like a total trap. That one to me felt like a trap. And so I think what's going on, and let me point this out. I call it America, it was never on purpose. I call it America because Twitter only allows you so many characters. By the time you say United States of America, you've probably lost like half your audience. And then, so America, America the Beautiful, it just, it sounds, when you're working with people who have attention spans of 8 seconds, America it's more direct. It was never on purpose. That's why I shortened it. So anyways, the Sarah Silverman stuff felt like a total trap. There is a lot going on among Americans. I mean, again, Trump was the Band-Aid that this country needed. We should be thankful for Trump. If we had 4 years of Hillary, what do you think America would be like right now? You got to be honest about that. So like, the loudest critics of Trump are among those who were within the coalition that got him elected. And on a personal level, I feel like you're just attention whores. So it's like, whatever. If you didn't watch the discussion last night between Scott and Rams, I'm not familiar with that segment of the right wing. I never watched those kinds of videos. I stuck with, like, I guess the more intellectual stuff of Stefan Molyneux at that time. And so I don't know a lot about that segment of the right wing. So I don't know how you watch the replay of last night's discussion between Scott and Rams, but I imagine that both of them will retweet the link to the replay, which you have to watch. Even I'm going to watch the replay over the weekend. I'm not going to discuss the discussion today, but I will next week. Next week, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk more American history, because I think something that I mentioned was already on other people's minds is I think it's hard to understand. I think it's difficult for Americans to understand that the government is the enemy. The government was the enemy prior to 1776. It really caught steam. What do you guys say, like 1770? And I think it's difficult for Americans today who haven't studied American history to fathom that England was once the bad guy, right? Like today, England is just another country. It's there. It's what is it? Is it a 3-hour flight from New York? Because I'm thinking in West Coast, so it's a 6-hour flight to France from the West Coast, right? So it must be a 3-hour flight, 4-hour flight from the East Coast. And so I think it's difficult for Americans to make that connection of what exactly was happening in 1776. I mean, for the young generation, it's difficult to understand what happened on 9/11, right? When they were babies or when they were unaware of what was happening, right? And then obviously children born after 9/11, it's even more difficult for them to understand that America has enemies and there are people out there who want to hurt us. And I bring in the Mexican stuff because I truly believe that what's happening in Mexico over the last few years is an effort to do away with the culture brought to Mexico from Spain. And you've got to, France was hanging in there right too, right? I mean, Mexican Independence Day was the 16th. I don't remember who they kicked out. Was it France? Mexican Independence Day is because they kicked France out, right? So there is Spanish and French blood among us. Spain civilized the Aztecs. Is that the worst thing that could have happened? No. I think you can't celebrate Mexican culture without the Spanish civilizing the Aztecs, right? It usually needs to be a battle to the death when you're trying to declare victory. So, but I believe that Mexicans can celebrate both sides. We can be thankful for higher IQs. We can thank the Spanish and France for that. We can also, since we're mestizo, or maybe some of our instincts come from the Aztec aspect side of us, right? Okay, so that's a way, way out there tangent. But I'm going to save that for next week. I'll still cover some baseball stuff. And then I'm not going to stream. So technically next week is the first week of October, right? So I'm not going to stream the second and the third week. I may jump back in. No, I won't jump back in until the second week of November. I've got some stuff I need to do, and then I like momentum. I'm a fan of momentum, and I need some time. I imagine that those are who are active on the right, who are active on the internet. I think it happens to you guys too, where you're just constantly thinking about this stuff, right? And so part of the reason why I'm still at the stage that I'm at is because I was like, I don't even know what to call this. And I was washing my face and I was thinking, and I was like, okay, so I have the name now. And I really like the entrances that you guys do for your shows, like Scott Greer and Ethan Retort. It's not report, right? It's retort. He's got a really cool intro. And so, you know, when you do this stuff, you kind of do have to figure out the marketing aspect of it. Not that, again, I'm not trying to be the brand. I do want to add a perspective to all of this, just because you have to be honest. We haven't been getting anywhere, right? We had Trump, the Band-Aid, but we haven't capitalized on any of it. And so we just when women get involved, it's because there's something lacking from the men. I mean, right? Like, I wouldn't be here right now if MLB players had stood up for themselves against all the analytics nonsense, but they didn't. And a lot of it is because specific guys were recruited who were going to go along with the agenda, right? Like, that's the purpose of these mediocre teams. They're just minor league teams at the major league level, and they act as recruitment waiting. They're the lobby, right? That's where they get conditioned. That's where they accept or they don't accept the analytics. That's why, you know, they built these narratives around some of these guys, and it's like, okay, well, you're just a fungible bot going along with it. You don't want to buy groceries for minimum wage, so you're going along with it so you can get paid millions. Like, you know, for the LA Dodgers, the catalyst for the Friedman, Stan Kasten, HIV Magic Johnson agenda was Justin Turner, Spreadsheet Turner, right? A dude who has had a lot of injuries, was let go by his previous team, so he's obviously a rebuild. He's the catalyst. He was the one following Dave Roberts around with the fucking spreadsheet, telling guys, don't do this, do that. He's the reason why Chris Taylor should have carried everything he did in 2017 into 2018, 2019, even 2020, but he didn't because he was listening to Justin Turner. And now when your career's over, no one's going to remember you. But that's the way stuff goes, right? You can't save everybody. Okay, so I have a lot, and I'm going to go off script a little bit. So these last 2 weeks, I spent them talking about the cultural differences between American baseball and MLB. Obviously, the cultural difference comes from integration in 1947. It just changed. The Jewish population residing on American soil props up the Africans. Remember that the Jewish population residing on American soil came from Germany. They were fleeing the bet that they had made over there. The Germans decided that Germany for the Germans. whatever the Jews were doing over there at that time was obviously nefarious enough to spark a war. They fled. One of the places where they landed was here in America, namely Colombia, the birthplace, the formal birthplace of critical theory, right? And so the Jews came over to America. They brought over wonderful things like breast cancer and other diseases. And they also brought over with them the concept of racism. Before the Jews really made their place in America, nobody was calling each other racists, okay? No one was calling each other racist. Cap Anson wasn't called a racist by anybody. Ty Cobb wasn't called a racist by anybody. And obviously, in 2021, Kurt Schilling, nobody would be calling Kurt Schilling a racist simply for being white. When what some people call the normies, when the normies truly get it, they will roll their eyes too. They will roll their eyes too. So I want to point this out. So the reason why the reason why the deaths of the Civil War I didn't chart is because it was a war among brothers, right? The American Civil War was a war among brothers. Once the Civil War officially ended, Grant said, there's a very famous quote, and I don't have that book near me with right now, but Grant said something to the effect of, he was talking to the North and he said, go hug your brothers in the South, the war's over. So the Civil War didn't change America. Probably because it wasn't an international war the way World War I was. Okay, so yes, many lives were lost. Those lives matter too. The difference is that it was a war among brothers as opposed to a war with foreigners, right? So the Civil War didn't change the face of America the way World War I did. World War I left enough of a vacuum to be filled by other people Susan B. Anthony, even the archives where I found some of this information, because I was looking for the data, the archives admits without World War I, you don't get Susan B. Anthony, you don't get the civil rights stuff. I'm going to argue that without World War II, you don't get baseball's integration. And so there's a lot of moving pieces. Yes, every life lost in a war matters. Everyone's had an impact. But the thing about the Civil War is it didn't change the face of America the way World War I did. And then obviously the nail in the coffin is World War II. So I'm jumping around a little bit again. So I know what I'm going to call this, and I need October to work on it. Maybe I'll do, again, I don't want to interrupt MLB's engineered postseason narratives. Just let them roll out, let them unfold. But next week I will do American history. And then, I don't know, maybe I'll squeeze in another week somewhere in between the beginning of November and the beginning of November. Because then November, they vote on the MLB awards. I don't want to interrupt that either. Okay, so the cross-check test, I will go into detail definitely around the time that the ballots are mostly in. Again, I want to see what the MLB Marxist media decides on this ballot. It's very important. It's going to decide the future direction of MLB. Are they going to vote in the steroid users? Are the steroid users, the known steroid users, the without a doubt steroid users, are they even going to show up on the ballot? I don't understand why even put them in the ballot. I'm not sure what can go sideways with setting that precedent. So is A-Rod and David Ortiz, are they even going to show up on the ballot? Is something that I want to find out. And then, I mean, I'm not sure how that can go wrong. So that's going to be interesting to see. So I went through the elements that allowed me to put this cross-check test together for determining who should go into the Hall of Fame versus who you can say, you know what, thanks for playing, but no. And so I went through the top 20. I went through the championships, who's a champion, who isn't. I've talked a lot about, did they garner titles during their career? Because I am looking at production. I'm not looking at algorithms or analytic statistics that can be fudged by whomever is giving the presentation. The fact that Yogi Berra played in 2,120 games, you can't fudge that. The fact that Babe Ruth hit 714 home runs, you can't fudge that. Joe DiMaggio has 9 championships. You can't fudge that. As opposed to when the Baseball Hating Network puts together their top 10 list, they can fudge their algorithms to get the result that they want. Completely different, and it shows that analytics is just a bunch of nonsense that allows them to make mediocrity look like greatness, which it's not. It's not even close. Derek Jeter is just a dude who happened to wear the most coveted baseball uniform ever, and he had the power of the New York media behind him. Otherwise, even if you had stuck him on the LA Dodgers, Derek Jeter wouldn't be what he was engineered to be by the New York media. The LA media, there's no way they would have given him that attention. It just wouldn't have happened. So it's super cute that Derek Jeter, I still haven't watched the speeches, but it's super, super cute that Derek Jeter made that joke about being 1 vote short of unanimous. Super, super cute, but Derek Jeter didn't even deserve to go in on the first ballot. I mean, he should have gone in, if anything, on the 10th. There's nothing special about Derek Jeter. He's propped up simply because he identifies as African. He wore the most coveted uniform in baseball, the New York Yankee uniform, and he had the power of the New York media behind him. Otherwise, there's nothing special about Derek Jeter. He's just another compiler. He's just another, again, I repeat some stuff for emphasis and for a little bit of drama. Derek Jeter is just another compiler in the tradition of Hank Aaron. And you know, when some current MLB employees hold in high regard your Hank Aarons, your Jackie Robinsons, your Willie Mays, well, you do that because you're not a champion, right? Again, the 1995 Braves championship is very questionable. And I will make a case that gives you reasonable doubt. And for lawyers, sometimes that's enough, right? Defense lawyers, that's what they do, right? They instill reasonable doubt in the jury, and that's enough to get their client off the hook. maybe I could have done that for a living, but I like, I mean, I like sleeping at night. I'm not a narcissist. I don't spend my days looking at myself in the mirror. But when I do look in the mirror, I want to be okay with it, right? Maybe I could have been a good defense lawyer, but okay. That's kind of what an immigration lawyer is, right? You're defending people who broke the law. It's a lot, right? It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, so let me organize myself. 25 minutes into this, so that so you guys can follow along without any doubt. Okay, again, I spent the last 2 weeks dissecting the cultural differences between American baseball and MLB. The cultural differences simply come from who's running the sport. Americans ran the sport before integration. The Jewish population runs the sport post-integration, and they prop up Africans. I think so the Jewish population is intent on making Africans the new white, right? That's why we have so many commercials of Africans being portrayed in white cultural practices, right? And we know that system is going to implode because Africans they have a different IQ overall, and they have different cultural tendencies. Like right now you've got Africans and domestic terrorists, LeBron James, and African nationalist Shannon Sharpe celebrating something that some Latino player did at home plate. That's not sports. It's African culture. Americans don't do stuff like that. Ty Cobb never shimmied his way to home plate. When Mickey Mantle hit home runs, he kept his head down because he knew that the pitcher already felt bad enough about giving up a home run. Mickey Mantle, a white American, didn't add to it. So yes, there were unwritten rules in American baseball. Those unwritten rules are simply American culture. Africans have a completely different culture. You guys are far more tribal. You're far more because so the Negro Leagues integrated into American baseball, but the Jewish population deems them worthy of being inducted into the Hall of Fame, even though they did nothing for American baseball. Even MLB, what has the African population added to MLB? Whatever they've added doesn't show up in the ratings. If anything, it chased Americans away because you've got Hank Aaron compiling, you've got Willie Mays being paid tons of money to do tricks in the outfield. Ken Griffey Jr., they still talk about it like he's something to write home about. The dude didn't, what did he do? What did he do, right? So it's, domestic terrorist LeBron James and African nationalist Shannon Sharpe call what the Latino did. I believe he's Latino. He could be Afro-Latino or he could be African. But he does this thing at home plate and they're celebrating that, calling it sports. No, that's not sports. That's African culture. American professional sports is a totally different thing, and they didn't do that back then. They also weren't tatted up and wearing bling. They didn't dye their hair weird colors. So I'm going to correct domestic terrorist LeBron James and African nationalist Shannon Sharpe. No, that's not sports. That's African culture, and you have your right to it. So that's fine if that's who you're appealing to, but I came across the tweets. and I'm saying that you're wrong. I'm correcting you. Okay. So I talked about the top 20 categories that matter. I talked about the ballots that some of these guys got in on. Yogi Berra got in on the second ballot. You really think Derek Jeter was better than Yogi Berra in any shape, way, or form? I disagree. Joe DiMaggio got in on the third ballot. Mickey Mantle got in on the first. Obviously, Babe Ruth got in on the first. That's like duh. Obviously, Bill Dickey got in on the 7th, and then Herb Pennock got in on the 8th. Obviously, right? Obviously. And then Lou Gehrig got in by way of special election simply because he passed away. Okay. So, when the ballots officially go out for the 2022 class, I will take a look at it, the digital version of the ballot, and I'm going to, every name on the ballot, this is what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to look at whether or not they're champions. I'm going to look at the number of seasons that they played. Years, seasons. Oh, I did that because some of these guys had interruptions in their career due to World War II. So what years did they play, and then total number of seasons. I'm going to look at how many teams they played for. The more teams they played for, the less legit they are. Babe Ruth played for 2 teams, but that wasn't his fault. Cy Young played for 5. That wasn't his fault. They weren't demanding trades. Just a different culture. I'm going to look at the number of games that they played in, the number of bats. For position players, batting average, hits, home runs, RBIs. It's not so much stolen bases. Again, I added that because I wanted to show that white guys stole bases too, and they stole them in large numbers. And then I want to know how many times they struck out. If they're in the top 20 in strikeouts, no, you're not a Hall of Famer. You spent way too much time being unproductive. There's no such thing as a productive strikeout. And then for pitchers, I want to know how many games they played in, how many they started, their win-loss record, their ERA, complete games, shutouts, inning pitched, and strikeouts. Now, the strikeout category is tainted. We know that in 2021, these guys are compiling strikeouts. We know that they cheated. So it's your new steroids, hit as many home runs as you can. So the strikeout category is a little bit tainted right now, and it's only going to get worse. How much worse is yet to see, because this is something that got caught early as opposed to going on for 5-7 years before anything got done about it. But nonetheless, Verlander, Scherzer, Wainwright, Felix Hernandez, did I say Wainwright already? Sorry. Mental lists. Garrett Cole, Corey Kluber. I don't know if the LA Times is going to continue following that story or not, but there's nothing refuting whether or not these guys cheated. What the last thing I saw was that the Angels employee who was fired, who claims that these pitchers purchased sticky stuff from him, or worse, they acquired it from him somehow. What he's fighting, it seems, is for his reputation. I guess he's saying they did get this stuff from me and you're firing me for it. I mean, that's a tricky, that defense lawyer has work cut out for him, right? Because it's like what I was talking about with Tony La Russa the other day. I'm not even getting involved in that because Tony La Russa was, there's no way he didn't know that his players were using steroids, right? Balco was right there. So you want me to defend Tony La Russa because the White Sox team who wants to be an NBA team calls him old school? No. And that's really something. There's so much opportunity for the right. Yes. There's a lot of opportunity for the right. We need to find leaders who are not tainted. Like, I didn't have the opportunity to check Twitter this morning, but I guess Rudy Giuliani was trending again. Okay, now what happened? Obviously, Rudy Giuliani did so many wonderful things for New York City. But the problem is he has so much baggage with him too. So it's hard to defend Rudy Giuliani knowing that he's got all this stuff that he also did. It's been a noisy morning. I don't know how much of that you guys are getting. The birds were so singing today. They were on a tear. We had an hour straight of just the birds singing, and I don't mind it. I don't even mind when they're singing at 5 a.m. There's just something peaceful about these birds going about their life, right? So there's a lot of sounds today. We'll see how much the microphone picks up. But okay, so am I going to defend Tony La Russa against his fungible bots who don't like him because he's old school? No. That's not a fight I need to get involved in. Neither is it necessary for me to get into any other fights for MLB employees, MLB players who are tainted. As far as I know, Randy Johnson, Curt Schilling, Madison Bumgarner, Zach Greinke, David John LeMahieu aren't tainted. It would be difficult to find out that they are. I would figure it out at that point after finding evidence. But I hope it doesn't come down to that. So Scott Adams yesterday tweeted about, this is a good segue into the next thing I want to get into. So Scott Adams has a cat that he obviously loves very, very much. And I don't know what's going on with the cat, but the cat is in need of life-saving care. It's going to cost Scott Adams $20,000 to get it done. And he tweeted out that he's going to pay it. And I respect that because it's true. It's true. When you have income, there's things that you can do. In Scott's case, his income allows him to save his cat. I have a dog that I love very much. My dog is geriatric. He's been geriatric for several years. When his teeth started falling out, the vet told me this dog is considered geriatric at his age. If they had put him to sleep to treat his teeth, basically pull out what was left, he may not have woken up. And my dog is tiny. It's a small dog. So I had to make a choice. I had to choose. Do we write out what's going on in his for his oral health, or do we get this done? Thankfully, my dog was able to get through what was left in his mouth. He's got one molar that's still in there. And he uses it well. And I can tell you that he uses his gums not to eat, but for other stuff. And he uses it well. So I respect Scott Adams' decision to save his cat with the income that he has earned. In my case, I'm not going to pray for this because I think it's kind of selfish, but my hope is that when it's time for my dog to pass away, I hope I'm not faced with making a decision of paying $20,000 to save his life or not. I hope it doesn't depend on a vet bill of that size. I can tell you that I did have to take my dog to the vet recently, and it was kind of on an emergency basis. I'm not sure what happened. So he was like, again, he doesn't have teeth, so he didn't cause any damage, but he was constantly biting his paws, all four of them, and they were like red and swollen. And it's one of those things where if you go to the doctor too soon, you don't have enough symptoms for them to make an accurate diagnosis. I was like, if I take him to the vet now, actually, I didn't even think about taking him to the vet as soon as we noticed it. I waited a few days, and then I saw that his paws were red and swollen. I tried several things. I tried giving him an oatmeal bath. I tried using iodine to calm it, and it wasn't working. And I took him to the vet. And at the vet, I looked at the people that were in line, and I was like, oh, dude, they're going to charge me an arm and a leg because these people in line are people that don't have kids, and they probably pay whatever they have to pay for their pet, right? A lot of people treat their pets as children, and therefore prices go up because the vets know that this dude, like Scott Adams, is going to pay it, right? So that drives the prices up for everyone else. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, right? Like, this is reality, right? And so I was charged an amount, but it provided my dog the relief that he needed. It's been several weeks at this point. He's not biting himself anymore. His paws are no longer red and swollen. They gave him an allergy shot, and they gave him an antihistamine shot, and then they cleaned out his ears. They gave me shampoo that I didn't even need to use. It's medicated. And then they took some blood. I don't want to get too far off, but let's just say that they took blood because I told them what he eats. And when they called me to tell me that they wanted to start medicating him, I was like, no, I just need to change his diet. No more red meat. And I'm sure the next time if I have to take him to the vet, I will tell them, you know what, let's test the blood again and see if the liver levels have dropped. And I'm sure that they will. Just because, again, he's not eating red meat anymore. Okay, so why am I segueing in this manner? And it does coincide with my baseball stuff. So Zero Hedge, I don't think I've given them a shout out. I believe it's more than one guy, right? Is it more than, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I want to give proper credit where credit is due. Zero Hedge is my go-to. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I am not all up totally in understanding every single financial thing that's happening, especially all the stuff that, I mean, there's a lot of financial nonsense happening right now, right? And it's been happening for a few years. It is the shit that they're doing over there, central planning, the Fed, it is fucking insane, right? Like, it's insane. So Zero Hedge mixes in other stuff. Like, I always appreciate when they tweet out about all the gambling stuff that's going on. I appreciate when they tweet out all the Steve Cohen stuff, because it intertwines with the stuff that I'm interested in, and it helps me develop a better financial understanding, because these are things that we need to know at least a little bit about. Especially your Scott Greers. I'm very impressed with all the stuff that Ramsey Paul has lived through. It's always good to have someone who has those kinds of firsthand experiences. I don't know how old Scott Greer is. He's very intelligent, and he's very well spoken, and he's tall. It matters. People, studies show that people are more likely to follow people who are tall. In addition, they earn more money. They have more credibility. It's like the teeth stuff. When it comes to teeth in 2021, if you have nice teeth, it shows that you're intelligent and that you have money, right? Teeth have become a status symbol. I have to invest in my teeth for oral health reasons, but while I'm at it, I'm investing in their beauty for credibility reasons. And I'm going to tell you right now, my kid's going to have perfect teeth by the time he's 18. I'm investing in his teeth too, because I don't know if he's going to take care of them once I'm not around to remind him that he needs to brush them and all that stuff. And I want him to have a good start once he's legal. And so, but the teeth for me, again, for us, it's oral health first and then status second. But these things matter in 2021. And it's okay to kind of, I'm never going to advocate for women to do these crazy surgeries. So I didn't grow up watching novelas, but my mom did, or my mom watched them while I was growing up. And the women who used to be in those novelas today, oh, they've had so much work done, and it's very obvious. Once you start messing with your face that way, your natural skin is gone. Your natural features, your natural everything, it's gone. And once you start something like Botox, that's it. It's Botox for the rest of your life. And you're going to reach a point where you have to double the doses because the first dose isn't going to work anymore. So you've got to really think hard about these things. Eventually, I'm going to get into like this women health stuff. And I don't want to receive credit, or it's not my goal. It's awesome if it happens, but I want to start something like I woke up like this. So again, I'm not wearing makeup. I know there have been days where I should have worn makeup, but apologies. I know the Dalai Lama said nobody wants to follow an ugly woman, and I agree 100%. He's right. People want to look at beauty. That's just the way we're built, right? And but I want to encourage women to take care of themselves so that they reach the point where they get up in the morning and they look pretty good. And you do that with diet. It starts with diet, and then you've got vitamins. And again, I'm not going to hawk vitamins. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just sharing information. Okay, so let me pull myself back. So I'm going back to the income stuff. I'm not saying that rich people are evil. I'm not saying that Scott Adams is evil because he can afford a $20,000 vet bill to save his cat that he obviously loves. What I'm saying is it's different when it's fake wealth, or wealth at the expense of everybody else. So I should have pulled this up, but to show it here, but I didn't. I've got a couple of screens that I'm showing you guys today. That's why I had to prepare myself on different fronts. And I'm probably going to go near to another hour. So brace yourselves, brace yourselves. And it's a mixture of American history, American 2021, and baseball history. I'm going to tie everything in together. So yesterday, Zero Hedge tweeted out, the share of U.S. household net worth of the bottom 50% is near the lowest it has ever been at 2%, and half where it was in 1991. The share of U.S. household net worth of the top 1% is 32.1%, the highest on record. So I'm not saying that the top 1% is evil per se, but these kinds of statistics matter. If this happened organically, I wouldn't argue against it. When stuff occurs organically, it's different than when it's engineered. The problem I have with the current 1% residing on American soil is that it's engineered. It hurts everybody else. And these people aren't even American in most cases, right? We know Steve Cohen, not an American, right? That dude is shady, right? He knows this. I know it. Other people know it, right? You're shady, right, Steve Cohen? Okay, I don't know why it's not Steve Cohen funding Israel's Iron Dome. I don't know why it's not Robert Manfred, Stan Kasten, Andrew Friedman. Who else are our favorite Jews? I don't understand why it's not them funding Israel's defense stuff. You continue to siphon American resources. You continue to fake your way to wealth off the backs of Americans. There's a video going around right now. A woman, is it the New York subway? She's tearing down these degenerate ads. And at the end, so I understand why she tore them down. People feel like they need to take action. I understand that. Is it getting a lot? Okay, but I think I'm louder. I'm paying attention to the mixer. I apologize, you guys. There's a lot of noise today outside. We're gonna be okay? Yeah, okay. Let's see if it's gonna die down. There's a lot of landscaping happening today. Apologies for the background noise. I know that there's a way to minimize background noise on this software. I will employ it for the following week. So, so the woman on the subway, obviously, that's the issue with the right? We don't feel like we should be tearing down signs, but we lose because the left is tearing down statues, is tearing it all down. BLM burnt it to the ground, right? Thanks to domestic terrorist LeBron James, who set off those riots. So they feel like they can, so the difference between the right and the left is that we don't engage in that kind of behavior. On top of that, if we do engage in that kind of behavior, we will get sent to jail. BLM will not get sent to jail. Antifa will not get sent to jail. The FBI informants will not get sent to jail. But if the right engages in these activities or in that kind of behavior, we will get sent to jail. So the right doesn't engage in that kind of behavior because we will get punished. Something we need to figure out, right? Okay, so we're good. So the woman in that video, I believe it's the New York subway, tearing down those ads. She's not alone. A lot of Americans want to take action. And there, as Scott points out, there's going to be more people taking action, and we hope that we have to figure out how to minimize the negative impact that they're going to face, right? But at the end, she says that kind of degeneracy isn't going to stop until Americans say we don't want it. So not enough Americans are saying we don't want it. But there are more Americans attending school board meetings, and so the school boards are starting to freak out, which is good. They're applying pressure. It's great. Now, I want to point out, just like something I have a problem with on the right is when individuals attempt to take credit for things that the population are doing. So the recall in California occurred because rural California took it upon themselves to gather all those signatures and even make it happen. So when you've got like Dave Rubin and others, writing the coattails of that movement, I have a problem with that. I don't know enough about Matt Walsh, but it wasn't Matt Walsh in Virginia at those school board meetings, those videos that we saw. So, I'm not sure. I don't have an opinion on Matt Walsh yet. I think it's great that he got a lot of attention with the Carrie Underwood stuff. It obviously helps his cause, right? It helps him. One of the reasons why I didn't support Larry Elder is because he's not Trump. The reason why Trump garnered so much credibility from us is because Trump has a resume of success, a resume of action, a resume of creating jobs, a resume of being loved by people among his peers and just the population. All you need to do to find that out is read his books. So it's different with somebody like Larry Elder, who apparently said that the Biden presidency is legitimate. Okay. He should have got booed off the stage the way the Arizona lady got booed off the stage. That tells you that Arizona is more with it than California, but I think a lot of you guys already know that. And I have a problem with the fact that he's a libertarian, because libertarianism was started by Jews. So that's just questionable all the way around. And in California, we have enough people stinking up the streets with their pot. No, we've got to push back against that shit. And that's libertarian bullshit. I don't want it. I'm a mom. I don't want it. I have a son. I don't want it. Shoot, I have a son. I don't want the pot smoking. I don't want the pot smoking for my son. Libertarianism, no. So that's why Larry Elder didn't garner my support. I have more faith in the guys that put up that Trump sign on the 405 than Larry Elder, because those guys at least took action and did something. So Scott Greer to me seems legit. Ramsey Paul definitely seems legit. Ramsey Paul did some stuff, something I don't know if he was outside of a federal building. Fuck. He did some stuff and he was appealing to the population. So he took action, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know where he was. He was not at the Capitol on January 6th, Marxists. Okay, so I got that off, but I will be discussing more. Honestly, right now, I would be comfortable with a Scott Greer, Ramsey Paul presidential ticket, because I think they balance each other out, as they showed last night. And you can see that if wherever the replay's at, for last night's kill stream discussion between Scott Greer and Ramsey Paul. Honestly, I'm comfortable with a Scott Greer, Ramsey Paul ticket. They balance each other out. Ramsey Paul brings his elder experience. Scott Greer brings youthful enthusiasm. I think that's a great ticket. Honestly, I would be more comfortable with them than anybody else. It's too bad neither of you guys live in California. I would support you guys for governor in 2022. Right? Ramsey Paul's in Arkansas. I don't know where Scott Greer's at, but I know it's not California, right? Okay, so way off. Okay, let's bring it back. So I'm segueing into where the wealth lies. So if you check out Zero Hedge, he tweeted a lot of this stuff out yesterday. He's got a chart on one of them that shows how much wealth is held by the top 1% and then how much wealth is held by the top 50%, which is all of us, or a lot of us, right? My problem has nothing to do with the top 1% holding that much wealth. It's the fact that they engineered it. It's the fact that it's fake. It's fake. It's worthless money. The dollar is not worth in 2021 what it was worth in 1970. Ramsey Paul tweeted out one of these charts. Edward Snowden tweeted out one too. Edward Snowden tweeted out 1970. So they're showing inflation, right? The cost of things in 1970, and we all know the cost of things in 2021. But how did we get here? We got here through real estate investors, financial advisors, banking. That's how we got here, right? I'm going to try to walk and chew gum, you guys. Walk and chew gum at the same time. Oh, good. It's the first one. So if you go to Edward Snowden's, who's a dad, I believe his child is 9 months old, and Snowden is getting life lessons in why won't children eat their dinner. I thought that was so awesome. Congratulations, Ed. That's awesome. I hope your kid grows up to be awesome too. So if you go over to his Twitter, if you click on his media, it's the first one there. 1970 cost of living, new house, $23,450. Average income was not even $10,000. New car, $3,450. A movie ticket was $155. Gasoline, 36 cents a gallon. Postage stamp, 6 cents. Bread, 23 cents. So how did we get here? A lot of this stuff I'm going to end up tying together. How did we get inflation? Well, Nixon, right? There was Nixon. There was also JFK. And then just all the bureaucracy that came with the civil rights movement, HUD. So the civil rights movement gave us, and Nixon gave us a lot of the bureaucracy that we know today. The bureaucracy led to hiring on quotas, affirmative action, and diversity. Diversity, right? And so we've got to roll back a lot of this stuff. A lot of this stuff, we got to roll it back. Okay, so how does this pertain to MLB? So Mike DiGiovanna from the LA Times wrote an article. He did a lot of research. last year. And I apologize that it's so small. Where's the date? So it got published in the LA Times, June 26, 2020. I don't know if he's updated this, but I'm curious because I want to know what the Marlins are valuated at. Okay. So MLB's ratings are in the toilet. MLB has self-funded since 2005. They bypassed the market. That's the fact that MLB can fund themselves while bypassing the market gives them the freedom to put what they put out on the field in 2021. That's why their ratings are in the tank. That's why they're not growing their fan base. That is why people stopped going to the ballpark. One of the reasons, obviously, ticket prices was the other one. Are you really going to pay $50 a seat to watch the mediocre Marlins? People showed that they're not, even though Derek Jeter lowered the prices of food and ticket, maybe parking, I'm not sure. People still aren't going. So Florida, although Florida is a great spring training market, it just hasn't turned into anything season-wise. And it is what it is, right? So here you see that all the yellow, so the columns, the teams, right? All 30 teams. Mike DiGiovanna gave us two sets of valuations. He gave us the valuation, the personal net worth of the principal owner, and he gave us the valuation of the team. What's the team worth? What was the team worth in 2020? So he used the tax returns for 2020. So yeah, what the team was worth in 2020, or based on the 2019 tax returns, I think. And then what was the team purchased at? So like the New York Yankees have been owned by the Steinbrenners for several years. When they purchased them, they were already worth $5 billion. So that the New York Yankees stuff is a little bit tricky because Steinbrenner Sr. purchased the team in 1977, right? But then they sold it to a corporation, and I'm not sure if the corporation became part of the Steinbrenner stuff. I can make my way through it, but I have to put in the time, and I haven't had the opportunity to put in the time. Okay, what does this all mean? So, okay, keep this in the back of your mind. Let me show you the O'Malley era. And yeah, they're tiny. So I figured out what I want to call this. So I'm going to work on that, and then I will post all of these digital assets so that you can browse them at your leisure. So the Walter O'Malley era with the LA Dodgers spanned several years. And I need to pull this up on my end too, you guys. Okay, so 1951 is the first chunk of information that I show you. That year, the Dodgers okay, so they weren't the LA Dodgers yet. They were still the Brooklyn Dodgers. They had a record of 97 and 60. They garnered second place. Attendance was almost 1.3 million total. The manager at that point was Charlie Dressen. And you can see that their front office was just a few men. President, two vice presidents, a business manager, traveling secretary who was also the director of publicity and public relations, director of minor league operations, secretary minor league operations, chief scout. They had 17 scouts. They had the Western Division Supervisor, Midwestern Supervisor, and a Managerial Supervisor. So, wait till I show you. It's going to get good. It's going to get so good. Well, at least I think it's going to get good. So, then Dodger Stadium opened in 1962. The LA Dodgers earned a record of 102 and 63. They had a total attendance just over 2.7 million. The manager at that time was Walter Alston. And you can see their scouts. The number of scouts grew to 41. But you can see that the front office was still like super manageable. The bureaucracy grew a little, but not significantly. You know, they have your president, executive vice president, 2 vice presidents, assistant treasurer, executive secretary, executive assistant gets some credit, director of PR and promotions, director of ticket sales, director of scouting, advertising director, assistant director of minor league operations, traveling secretary. It got split up. It became 2 positions, right? It used to be one guy, one man managing all 3 tasks. They split that off. Director of transportation, statistician. Yeah, trust me, I realized a lot of things about the Dodgers organization. But, and I'm okay with it now. I moved on. Group ticket sales and a director. So then we move into 1979. Unfortunately, the Dodgers only garnered 3rd place that year. Their record, 79-83, but their attendance was still solid, 2.8 million. Manager, Tommy Lasorda. So the day I talked about, how weird is that? Okay, so Yogi Berra, the anniversary of Yogi Berra's death is the anniversary of Tommy Lasorda's birthday. His wife passed away 2 days before. So was his birthday too much for her to take? I wouldn't be surprised, right? They loved each other. That's like serious true love right there, right? They loved each other. It's beautiful. Okay. So Tommy Lasorda, manager of the LA Dodgers, 1979. Unfortunately, they only garnered 3rd place and they had a losing record, which 3rd place and a losing record is a little bit impressive, isn't it? Okay, so you can see that yes, indeed, the bureaucracy has grown. Whereas I was able to fit 1951 and 1962 on one side, I could not do the same for 1979. Hence, or thus, no, neither of those are correct in this context. Okay. The bureaucracy grows. They got a board of directors. I believe that's because the O'Malley sons start to do their thing. So you've got a board of directors, a chairman of the board, president, treasurer, secretary. That's one group of bureaucracy. And then you've got several more vice presidents get added. Several more directors get added. The Dodger Network, scouting, publicity, community relations. But the community relations thing kicked in because they kicked people out of their homes to build Dodger Stadium. There's some people still upset over that. You know what, though? Their scouts went from 41 to 31 in a 17 years span. They got their own jet. They had an executive pilot. Controller, special consultant became a thing. So the bureaucracy grows. So when these teams, these ML teams get evaluated, I mean, what are they really evaluating? Are they evaluating salaries and bureaucracy? Is that what goes into the valuation? Because you didn't need that much money. Even with inflation, you didn't need that much money to run a baseball team in 1912. Oh, I think I took that off. If I still have it, it's this one. No, I removed it. I removed it. Okay. It's going to be okay. So that's a lot of people to run a baseball team, don't you think? It's a lot of people. But okay, not the worst thing. Not the worst thing. Because in 2020, do you know how many people it took to run Friedman's Tampa Dodgers? Let me show you. That is just the beginning of how many people it took to run Friedman, Stan Kasten's, HIV Magic Johnson's, Marxist Walter Johnson. No. Walter, what's your last name? I don't remember your last name, but Walter, right? Marxist Walter. That's how many people it took to run, to tell Walker Buehler what pitch to pitch, to tell Chris Taylor what ball to hit, to tell Mookie Betts when to run. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of the Tampa Dodgers bureaucracy in 2020. A shortened season nonetheless. Let's go all in. Let me show you. I think it's like 300 positions. This is the Tampa Dodgers 2020. This is the number of people it took to run that organization in a shortened season. And it's true. I believe the day after the World Series, the Tampa Dodger organization released a lot of people. I didn't have the opportunity to follow up to see how many people it's taking to run the Tampa Dodger organization in 2021. So my question again is, when they evaluate these teams, what are they really evaluating? Are you evaluating how many bats the organization owns, how many balls the organization owns? How much are you sticking in these valuations? All this bureaucracy. And I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be fair. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. So I have to pull it up on my end because that is tiny, tiny, tiny. It's about 300 people though. Now, I'm going to be fair. The Dodgers did list everyone and their mom. Like, they list, let me give you an example. So they list like all the stadium operations and security. So they literally like list assistant manager, security, guest services. So like they list everyone and their mom. And we know that a lot of these positions aren't even part-time, right? They play how many home games? Is it 81 home games? So these people only work a couple of hours 81 times out of the year. Okay. I mean, so I'm being fair, right? I'm being fair. But nonetheless, I mean, they list the plumber, the mechanic, the painter. They list a lot of stuff. Everyone and their mom gets listed here. Nonetheless, every department has a director. Every department has an assistant. Every department has an associate. There's always an executive. There's always a director. Andrew Friedman makes $5 million a year. That's the last number that I pulled out. So again, when you're evaluating these teams, what are you really evaluating? Are you evaluating the uniforms, all the material that goes into the uniforms? What are you really evaluating, right, is my question. Given all this bureaucracy, what are you really evaluating? I mean, seriously, you're really going to pay 6-7 figures for this? Nah, I wouldn't. The people coming into MLB are in it for the 10% return. And maybe I'm lowballing it. I don't know. That's when I've studied, when I've read about investing and stuff like that, the goal is 10%. Maybe these guys are in it for 20. I don't know. But this is what it took to run the Tampa Dodgers in 2020. Do you think, is this logical? Does this make sense? Should it take this many people to run? Okay, that's how many it takes to run an MLB team. It's not going to take this many to run baseball teams. It didn't take this many to run baseball teams in 1912. This is how many people it takes to tell Joe Kelly what pitch to toss, what ball to throw. No, that doesn't make sense. This is how many people it takes to tell Joe Kelly what to do on the mound. All their fungible bots. This is what it takes right here. And I wonder how many of all this goes into these team valuations. And on top of that, this is how many people it's taken to ruin the sport. So again, I'm going to be fair. Some of these guys are like the store associates. It's like workers that work 81 times out of the year, a couple of hours each time. So I'm going to be fair. Nonetheless, this alone is the baseball operations department. This is how many people it takes to tell Mookie Betts what to do. No instinct, right? No instinct. He's told what to do. This is how many people it takes to tell Dave Roberts what to do, on top of having Bob Guerin sitting next to him. So it's super cute that you want to sell Dave Roberts as something to write home about. Wrong. These people tell Dave Roberts what to do. This is larger. This is more people than 1979, the front office of 1979. Boom. I wonder what it looked like for Atlanta in 1995, given that Stan Kasten was there. So Andrew Friedman makes $5 million a year. How much do his analytics dorks, nerds, make a year? Does that go into the team valuations or what? These are fair questions, right? They're fair questions. So the baseball operations department, the people who tell Mookie Betts what to do, Dave Roberts what to do, Justin Turner what to do, Joe Kelly what to do, all those guys that come up for the first time and get a hit, these guys tell them what to do. There's no instinct in the game. I mean, what's left instinct-wise, baseball player-wise, Madison Bumgarner, David John LeMahieu, Zach Greinke, they're MLB's absolutely doing their best to kick them out the door. Again, let's see what happens with Zach Greinke, given that his contract's basically up, right? So who tells Mookie Betts, Joe Kelly, Justin Turner, all the fungible bots what to do? The senior vice president of baseball operations, followed by several vice presidents, directors, baseball operations, baseball development, baseball resources, quantitative analysis, player development, performance science. And this is why I respect Tom Brady as an NFL player. The other stuff, unfortunately, it ties into some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about in the future. It just, that's the way it worked out. It wasn't intentional. I'm not going to apologize for it, but it's coming. It's okay. It's coming. No instinct, right? They have a director of performance science at those Tampa Bay Dodgers, Andrew Friedman. They've got performance science applications, a developer, senior analyst, performance science, a coordinator of the Strong Mind program. Strong Mind. Strong Mind. They've got a coordinator of baseball analytics, a senior analyst in biomechanical, quantitative. I've got to be missing something. I'm sure that's not the entire title. Coordinator of baseball operations, senior analyst, performance science, analyst, baseball operations, developer, baseball systems, coordinator, performance science, performance operations. So again, when they evaluate these teams, why is a baseball, why is an MLB team worth billions? That just doesn't make sense. I don't care how you slice it or dice it, it doesn't make sense. I bet you, okay, no, I don't bet you. That's wrong. I can argue that these teams are actually worth $0. Fake money, fake wealth, courtesy of MLB. So let me pull myself back. I started with Scott Adams is going to save his cat's life because he has $20,000 disposable to pay for that bill. That's his thing, right? I hope that I am never faced with making that kind of decision with my dog. I handled the vet bill a few weeks ago. My dog, those of us in contact with him agree that just that vet visit gave him like 2 years. It was serious, whatever he was experiencing, whether it was just an allergy, because they did a skin scrape and he did not have any mites. Nonetheless, the allergy and the antihistamine gave him, probably added 2 more years. So he never stopped eating. So we know this, right? If your pet stops eating, you got to take him to the vet. Emergency. No one gives a shit if it's 1 a.m. You get the vet. You get the dog checked out. Or the pet. If they stop eating, that's bad. Especially for dogs. Their stomach turns or something. Their intestines. I don't know what happens. But if they stop eating, it's not a good sign. So my dog, even though he was experiencing whatever he was experiencing, he never stopped eating. But he would walk around with his tail down as opposed to curled up. But he's good. He's good. He actually more actively, audibly begs for food now than he did before. So it was worth the bill. They probably gave my dog an extra year or two. I'm very happy about that. But I hope that I'm never faced with having to pick between $20,000 for my dog or letting him die, right? Like, that would be heartbreaking. That would definitely be heartbreaking. Okay, I don't have a problem with Scott Adams having that much money at his disposal to save his cat. I wouldn't even have a problem with the owner of, let's pick on somebody. Who do we want to pick on? Who do we want to pick on? I don't have a problem with the principal owner of the Globo Homo San Francisco Giants having a net worth of $4.4 billion. Is that $4.4 billion? Gotta pull it up over here. I don't have a problem with that. I don't. Do you believe me when I say that? You should. We're picking on San Francisco, right? Globo Homo San Francisco. So I really don't have a problem with that. The owner of the Globo Homo San Francisco Giants, who hired Farhan Zaidi and Gabe Kapler, I don't have a problem that he has a net worth of $4.4 billion. If he employed shady tactics to accumulate that wealth, that's between him and God, right? They will get squared away. They'll get squared away, right? I kind of have a problem with the Globo Homo San Francisco Giants being valued at $3.10 billion. I mean, what are you evaluating exactly? What are you evaluating? Seriously. What's worth that much money on an MLB team? So part of what's happening is MLB self-funding, right? They bought the baseball card company. They're probably going to end up with the other one. They've got their digital stuff that they have strict ownership over. They've got real estate, but $3.10 billion for an MLB team, okay. What kind of criminal accounting are you guys employing that gives you that type of valuation? I don't have a problem with the top 1% having that much wealth. It's the fact that the way they've accumulated it and the fact that they're employing criminal accounting to make it seem like that much. That's my issue. But I want to remind I want to remind the bottom 50% and all that. We don't need billions to get stuff done. We are more agile because we are not beholden to all this criminal accounting and inflation. We don't need all this. We're far more agile than they are. Because when they lose this, when the economy goes sideways and they lose this, they're going to be homeless. We live by a different set of rules. We are more agile. We can figure stuff out. They're going to lose everything when shit goes sideways. When shit really goes sideways, they're going to lose it. That's why right now with this crypto stuff, when Tom Brady got involved in the crypto, I was like, okay, but now everybody's involved in it. I personally would be careful. I think if you're already holding crypto, you can turn yourself into a billionaire right now by selling to Tom Brady or whatever organization he's got that is doing the crypto stuff. You can sell to Tom Brady, you're a billionaire. Boom, you're set for life. If you're not in the crypto game, I would be a little bit careful. But that's me. I'm risk adverse on some of these things. And then I would just be careful. That's all. I would just be careful. And then what are you going to do when the lights go out? The electricity turns off. Credit cards don't even work. When there's no electricity, credit cards don't work. So what are you going to do given that the electric grid is just what it is in 2021? So just be careful. Be careful. So this is a short presentation that went a little bit long on more money stuff. So let me start wrapping up because you guys know me. I can talk a lot, right? I can talk a lot. Hopefully you guys enjoy listening to it. I need to check what I placed here. Okay, this is from yesterday. So let's go back here. So I spent the last 2 weeks talking about the cultural differences between American baseball and MLB. And they coincide with the changes happening to America. I shorten America because Twitter, when you type United States of America, it's just so long. It takes up all your characters. America just sounds beautiful anyways. There's a song, America the Beautiful. And it wasn't on purpose, but that's something that can get figured out. What do you want to call it? It's something that can get figured out. And again, by the time you say United States of America, you've already lost your people who only have an attention span of 8 seconds. And do you guys know that? On average, the population has an attention span shorter than a goldfish? Yeah. Good stuff, right? Good stuff. Good stuff. So again, the last 2 weeks I spent it talking about the cultural differences between American baseball and MLB. I set out, so for me, all this really started with NASCAR. NASCAR is fun. When you go to a race, it's fun. I've been to several races in my time. And the people that go to them, even the people that go to them in California, are like cowboys and Southerners, not like American Southerners, like people from the South, right? It's a lot of fun. I guess it's an adrenaline thing, and they like me, so they like me, and so I started watching NASCAR somewhere after 9/11, and we went to a race, and I was like, done. And here's the other thing. So I started following a specific driver because he was winning. I picked him. I had my reasons for picking his car, and I picked well. He was total winner. He's a champion. Got into a little bit of trouble, and now he's being used for the Marxist agenda. Okay, so then NASCAR goes woke. NASCAR went Marxist with Danica Patrick, who, by the way, never won anything. How embarrassing. She's like the Derek Jeter. She is the Derek Jeter of NASCAR. Wow. Never won anything, was never the best at anything. Wow. That's good. Danica Patrick is the Derek Jeter of NASCAR. And so I got tired of watching these races, listening to the broadcasters, announcers, whatever you call them, say, oh, there's Danica Patrick. She's in 32nd place, but look at her go, man. Look at her go. 32nd place, but she's several laps down, but look at her go. So I stopped watching NASCAR because I got tired of it. And then Casey Kane got in trouble. Was it Las Vegas, Texas? She got Casey Kane in trouble because she was in the way. He wanted to race. He got her out of the way, but he's the one that got called into the trailer after the race. So I was like, fuck it, I'm done. This is bullshit. It's just, that's why men can't compete the way they're built to compete when women are around. What Casey Kane did to Danica Patrick that race, he would have done to Kyle Busch, and nobody would have said anything because it's just two dudes going at it, right? But because it was Danica Patrick, Casey Kane got in trouble. I was like, fuck this shit. Okay. So I stopped watching NASCAR, stopped going to races. And then 2017, Andrew Friedman, Farhan Zaidi, recruit, mediocre Curtis Granderson. I was like, oh no, man. I know what they're doing. This is Danica Patrick all over again. They're trying to engineer the African Kirk Gibson. No. And then Farhan Zaidi, Andrew Friedman, remove Rich Hill. 5th inning, Game 2, 2017 World Series. Shit goes downhill. I was like, fuck this. But for some reason, I wanted to understand it. So I've loved baseball far longer than I've loved NASCAR. I wanted to know what was happening. And then there were some comments that I received from a couple of nerds. And I was like, okay, let's look into this. And I honestly thought, to this day, I honestly thought that when I started researching, all I was going to find was a bunch of nerds being stupid, infiltrating our beloved Los Angeles Dodgers baseball team. But no, what I found has been much deeper than that. And I'm sharing it because it's a reflection of what's happening to America. They say this a lot. You'll hear people say this, and it's probably older men. They say that baseball reflects society, and they're right. I don't know how or why, but it's true. And that's why I share this perspective with you guys. Integration in baseball came before the civil rights movement. And you see what happened to America post civil rights. It's very similar to what's happening in MLB. The white players, the baseball players, are getting shooed out of the sport, while you've got domestic abusers, steroid users, cheaters being celebrated. Let me remind you some more money stuff. Oh no, what did I do? Highest paid. Okay, I don't want to click on that right now because I don't know what I did to it. I don't want to mess my stuff up. But okay. So let me remind you that the highest paid MLB player as of July 28, 2020 remained steroids user Dominican Alex Rodriguez. $455.2 million. Won World Series. Confessed to steroid use after the fact. Used steroids 2001 through 2003. The second highest paid MLB player is Dominican Albert Pujols, who hasn't earned a title since 2010, just a compiler. Miguel Cabrera from Venezuela, third highest, another compiler, no title since 2015. Derek Jeter, who was never the best at anything, is celebrated simply because he identifies as African and he had the power of the New York media behind him. Championships came during the steroids era, and the New York Yankees had at least 26 steroid users go through the organization by 2008. That doesn't count A-Rod, who confessed. I guess he must have confessed to the steroid use after 2008. CC Sabathia, African, another compiler, New York Yankees during the steroid era. Carlos Beltran, we know he's a cheater. Justin Verlander, again, I don't know why I think of him as Jewish. Nonetheless, he's a cheater. Manny Ramirez, steroids. So the first American player that has been paid among the highest, or the highest paid American player in MLB comes in at 9th. And I do want to say that it's clean. As of right now, I have no reason to believe that Zach Greinke has cheated during his career. That's why I call him clean. He comes in as the 9th highest. So this is what MLB values. Dominicans, Venezuelans, Africans, Puerto Ricans, cheaters, compilers. Pretty soon there will be domestic abusers joining these ranks. This is what MLB values on American soil. I wouldn't have a problem with this if MLB packs up their stuff and moves to China and takes their degeneracy with them. I would stop. But here we are, right? So again, I don't have a problem with the top 1%. I don't believe in taxing the rich. I actually think we need to figure out the tax situation. I think that the best America is the one that existed. Obviously, America has had several great eras, but only landowners voting, I'm in on that. If nothing else, we at least need to raise the voting age to 25. People need to know what it's like to pay some taxes before they start voting. And then the other thing is, all these apartments are causing voter blocks of people who don't have skin in the game. As a property owner, you pay your property taxes, which real estate investors are actively raising to price people out of single family homes. I don't have a problem with the top 1%. The issue comes from they're engineered in the criminal accounting to make it seem like they have that much. These people, if we took into account their debt versus their assets, what's their real worth at that point? And then, so remove the debt from the equation. How much is left in assets? Force the debt payoff. What's that number at that point? And then how much of those assets are liquid? These people aren't rich. They're in debt, but they count debt as income. These teams are not worth billions of dollars. No way. No way are they worth billions of dollars. They're probably worth pennies on the dollar. Okay, so I don't want to end on this note. So let's go back to my cross-check test. So these last 2 weeks, I showed a lot of things, right? So this is the template that I'm going to use when the Hall of Fame ballot for 2022 releases. And I am going to look at them against the standard that was set of Babe Ruth, Christy Mathewson, Walter Johnson, Honus Wagner, Ty Cobb, Cy Young, Yogi Berra, Joe DiMaggio. I mean, Mickey Mantle's cool, but he's not as cool as Babe Ruth. You know, he's cool, but he's not as cool. This is my standard for Hall of Fame. And that means that a lot of guys are not going to get in. Curt Schilling should be in by now. Curt Schilling is the only one that should get in on this ballot. But again, we have to wait to see what the Marxists do. Will your Susan Slessors find their conscience and do the right thing, or will she just continue the trend? Because that's really the role of women, right? Women are brought into spaces like MLB to put their stamp of approval on the agenda. They're not there to make a difference. They're just there to continue the agenda, right? Don't get in the way. This is what they're doing. That's what you need to do too. So let's see how Susan Slessor votes. And then let's see what she says about it. So on Monday, I will be back. I'm going to put some things together because I'm slowly figuring this out. But I know what I want to name this. I know what I want to name it. The thing is, I'm working within two niches. And so for one of the things, it's not going to make sense. But I know what I want to name it. So I'm going to work a little bit on that over the weekend. If you have time, I recommend you guys watch the replay of the Ralph Retort, the replay of Scott Greer and Ramsey Paul's discussion last night, talking about what's happening in America. I'm going to watch it again because I want to take some notes. They both brought up interesting points. I would be comfortable with that, with them as the presidential ticket. Honestly, I'm not even joking. I think they balance each other out, where Ramsey Paul brings his firsthand experience and wisdom with age, and Scott Greer brings a youthful enthusiasm. And I would pick Scott Greer over Nick Fuentes. That could change, right? I don't know enough about Scott Greer to dislike him yet or say, oh man, I didn't know that he's doing this and that. Hopefully he's legit. I mean, if he lived in California and wanted to run for governor, I would say, yes, that's the guy. Let's go with him. They did a good job balancing each other out. And I think, like, as a president and vice president, that's what they would do. So watch that if you have time. I think the Ralph Retort is doing some sort of 24-hour thing. I might not watch all of it. I'm interested in two specific speakers. I believe that's starting at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm assuming he'll tweet out the link. So I guess what I'm doing is seceding American baseball from MLB. I think that MLB is so rotten at this point that you can't fix it by working within it. You would have to get a lot of people fired, and you would have to be willing to sink billions of dollars into a team that's not even worth that much. Instead, I think it's better to undercut it. There is a market for American baseball. I think it's worth finding it, putting it together, and it's not just about baseball. it's about America. It's about the American way of life. There's some things that I don't want to talk about online because MLB would be ready to steal it. I mean, come on, they're ready. I think they're desperate enough to steal stuff, but and there's things anyways that they wouldn't be able to do just for cultural reasons. There's specific things that they wouldn't replicate. Nonetheless, I want to keep that to myself for the time being. I want to wish everybody a good weekend. I want to let you know that I'll be back here Monday, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, live. I want to thank you if you made it this far. I will start putting some stuff together because I have an idea of my direction. I'm going to look for some cool music. I won't integrate that right away, but definitely I'll at least have a starting thingy to give me time to sync everything up. All right. Have a good weekend, everybody. I hope you had fun these last 2 weeks. Let's just keep going. Let's exercise caution. Let's exercise good judgment. Let's not fall into, as they say, honey traps. I still want to talk about the Ben Franklin model. I think you can sniff out FBI informants using the Ben Franklin model. It's got to be local. There's no need to travel right now. But so next week will be focused on American history specifically. I might bring in some baseball stuff into it, but it's going to be more American history. I think I need to add my perspective to it. I think there's just so much going on. I want to throw in my 2 cents. So thank you again very much if you made it through today. If you even made it through these 2 weeks, I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to continue on next week, and then we'll go from there. Again, have a great weekend, everybody. If you can't watch that replay of that discussion. Thank you again. I appreciate it.